My morning must-read is by Michael Chertoff, the former director of Homeland Security under President George W. Bush. He writes in the Wall Street Journal about investigating terror in the age of Twitter. Boston police didn't just use social media to correct errors like that false arrest report. The department recognized the news media were starved for information. The traditional periodic news conference isn't enough to feed the news cycle. He says it's not so much 24/7, it's more 1440, which is the number of minutes in any given day.
There's been a lot written about this. David Carr, I thought, particularly strong at the New York Times. And what I would emphasize is, yeah, there was a lot of bad on Twitter, but there was also a lot of good out there. It was just sorting it out.
Yeah, just getting through the piles and piles of information and photos. What stood out to me for my morning must-read, a scathing letter from Europe to U.S. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke. This is in response to new rules by the Federal Reserve, the bank regulator, to impose harder regulations on, say, European banks operating in this country. This comes from Michel Barnier. He's the European Commissioner in charge of banks and markets. He writes to Ben Bernanke, this has been a radical departure from the existing U.S. policy. It could spark a protectionist reaction from other jurisdictions, which could ultimately have a substantial negative impact on the global economic recovery. This is a very, very confrontational letter from Europe to the U.S. when it comes to banking. And the idea here is that it puts European banks at a competitive disadvantage.